Hey there! If you've ever felt nervous about speaking English, trust me, I've been in your shoes. I used to be terrified, doubting myself every step of the way. I thought my mistakes would make me look foolish, and that fear held me back for a long time. But one moment completely changed my perspective, and ultimately, my life. In today's video, I'm going to share the real, raw journey I went through to build the confidence I needed to speak English fluently. It wasn't easy, and there were a lot of setbacks along the way, but I want you to know that if I can do it, you can too. I'll be sharing everything from the nervous to the first conversation I had, and to the life-changing decision that pushed me out of my comfort zone. So, if you're ready to face your fears and start speaking English confidently, stick around. This video is for you. 2 years ago, I was lost. I was scared, insecure, and shy, with zero knowledge of English. I had no idea what my future would look like. Everything seemed uncertain, and I felt completely lost. But then, everything changed when I decided to learn English. The decision opened doors I never imagined. It helped me find my purpose and build my business. It unlocked career opportunities I once thought were impossible. I even got accepted into universities in the US with thousands of dollars in scholarships. Along the way, I built connections and friendships that completely transformed my life. I want to share with you exactly how I did it. From day one, my struggles, my thoughts at the time, and how I overcame challenges. All of it is packed into one video. I want you to see yourself in my journey, and hopefully get inspired. Most importantly, I want you to realize that I'm not special or different from you. If I become a fluent, confident English speaker, so can you. This is my story. I was sitting in my room, overthinking as usual about something that happened earlier. Someone had judged me for being too quiet, and every awkward moment made my face turn red, making things even worse. I was hungry, but that kind of thing happened to me all the time. To distract myself, I decided to watch a movie. At first I didn't even notice, but the movie was in English. My mind was so focused on my thoughts that I didn't even realize I wasn't understanding a word. When I did realize this, I quickly switched to my native language. And this moment triggered a memory. A week ago, my cousin had left for the United States. She couldn't stop talking about how important learning English was, and how she had been studying. I couldn't even talk to her because of how shy I was. But, sitting there in my room, I decided to give it a try. For the last 2 years, I have been talking about moving away and traveling. I didn't feel like I belonged in my hometown. I felt different. I wanted more from life than just living in a small town in the middle of nowhere. It seemed like the perfect time to try something new. So the decision to learn English was perfect. There was just one problem. I had no idea how to start. Not a clue. So I did what anyone would do. I searched the internet. Since I didn't know a single word of English, I had to look everything up in my native language. After just a few minutes, I felt so frustrated and overwhelmed that I gave up. It took me less than 10 minutes to quit, right after I had decided to start. The only experience I had with English in my life was at school, but nobody cared about it. Not even the teacher. We only learned a few words here and there. Every single day at that point, I really just tried to speak English once in my life, just because the teacher asked me to, and it was embarrassing. I couldn't even say a single word right. So I closed my laptop, feeling hopeless. Learning English felt impossible for me. But what I didn't realize at the time was that this simple moment of doubt was the beginning of everything. At first, of course, I was scared and uncertain, but after thinking about it the whole night, I decided to try again. The idea of becoming fluent in English seemed incredible, and I knew it would be worth it. So I opened my laptop again and started searching for ways to learn English on the internet. It was still a little overwhelming, but this time I found some helpful information. A website and a video caught my attention from a guy that I didn't even know if he could speak English or not. He was talking about how to make a plan and how to start. It was kind of confusing, but I didn't know what else to do, so I was going to try. At that moment, I felt like I was in a sea of information, but I could finally see a way forward. So I made a plan for myself. I would study for 1 hour a day, every single day. I decided to listen to songs while reading the lyrics, watch beginner-level conversations, and write down words I didn't understand. It felt like a simple enough plan, but I still wasn't sure if it would work. Moments after making that plan, I started reflecting on how I could approach this in a different way, so I wouldn't give up again. I began thinking about how most people quit right after they set their goals, and that thought motivated me. The truth was, I didn't know exactly what I was doing, and I wasn't sure if I could keep up with it, let alone do it 4 times a week. It felt like a big challenge, but I had to try, right? I couldn't let doubt stop me from giving it a shot. The only reason I was thinking that way was because my desire to learn English was huge at the time. I couldn't imagine how my life would change if I became fluent in English. So I decided to move forward, no matter how uncertain I felt. After a few weeks, my experience became kind of weird. There were days when I had a lot of motivation, and then there were days when I didn't do anything at all. I felt bad about that. I thought I wanted this, but I couldn't even study for 1 hour. I couldn't even focus for 1 hour to study English every single day. I thought about giving up, but I didn't. I had to keep going, even though I didn't have much motivation. All I could think about was how my life would change if I became a fluent English speaker. Even though I was tempted to give up, the feeling wasn't strong enough to make me quit. At that point, I had already memorized a few words, but I was nowhere near being able to speak 3 sentences in English without translating everything in my head from my native language. I had more than 20 pages of words and phrases scattered all over the place. I wanted to finish that 1 hour of studying as fast as I could. All I wanted to do was relax, watch a movie, or a TV show in my native language. Some days I felt so bored that I would only study for 30 minutes before giving up. But even with all these challenges, I still kept going, even though the thought of giving up was constantly in my head. The crazy part? What happened next was something I never expected, and it changed everything. On day 100, I still wasn't completely satisfied with the progress I had made. The number of words I had memorized was impressive, and sometimes I could see myself speaking in English, speaking a few sentences here and there, if I really focused on not translating everything in my head first. However, I wasn't very consistent. Some days, I would study for 30 minutes on my own, and if I was really motivated, I would study for 2 hours. But there were also days when I didn't even study for one single minute. Then, one day, something completely different happened. I decided to watch a more advanced English conversation video. To my surprise, I was able to understand enough to enjoy it, of course with subtitles. I had never felt that level of motivation in my life before. What I was doing was actually working. Finally, I noticed that I could understand some words but not others. Usually, the words I didn't understand were surrounded by other words in the sentence that I already knew. So I thought, what if I write down words I don't know in sentences I already understand? And that's exactly what I started doing. I wrote down unfamiliar words in sentences that I already knew and added their meanings. This moment was a turning point for me. It motivated me so much that I decided to stop consuming or watching anything in my native language. I committed to spending 2 hours a day on this new method, and consuming as much English as possible, even if I didn't understand 100%. For the first time since I started, I felt like I was finally grasping English in a way I hadn't before. The excitement and motivation led me to practice even more. I didn't know what the outcome would be in the end, but I was eager to find out. Over the next 100 days, my focus and progress soared. I was thrilled every time I watched or read something new, as I could understand more and more each time. But then something changed again. My excitement began to fade. After a while, I found myself losing motivation. I spent 10 days without doing anything, and eventually, as you can probably guess, I gave up, for 4 months. After everything I had gone through, I abandoned my English journey. I didn't know why, but it seemed like I didn't want to pursue it anymore. Until one day, I was browsing through YouTube, and stumbled upon a video that reignited everything for me. The video was titled, "Living in Your Small Town is Killing Your Potential." The video was in English, and while I couldn't understand everything, I grasped enough to get the context. That video reignited my motivation and reminded me of my goals and dreams. Childhood memories rushed back, and I envisioned my younger self watching me after I had given up. I couldn't let that be the end of my story. I asked myself, what am I doing? I have to learn English, or it's going to be so much harder for me. So I picked up my old notebook and began creating a completely new plan. This time it felt different. I knew way more English than I had on day one, and I was still committed to watching and consuming content only in English. However, now I would focus more on speaking and writing methods, like journaling, shadowing exercises, and asking and answering my own questions. These were simple, yet incredibly effective techniques at this stage. There was, however, one major challenge. I was working 8 hours every day, sometimes even 12 hours. I didn't know how I was going to make time for my English studies. I asked myself, what am I going to do? I didn't know the answer, but I had to figure it out. I was already waking up very early because I had to be at work by 6 or 7 a.m., so my only option was to wake up even earlier. At the time, I was really into self-improvement, so I was trying to make my life better in every aspect. One day I learned about the eat the frog method. It's a technique that teaches you to tackle the hardest tasks first thing in the day, so the rest of your day becomes easier. You can do the easier tasks later, but if you start with the hard ones, you're less likely to procrastinate, something most people struggle with. And that's how I began to reshape my entire approach to learning English. That's why people procrastinate a lot. I would wake up between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. to focus on my most important tasks in English, because I knew that if I left them for later in the day, I probably wouldn't get them done, or they wouldn't be as effective. I would write and speak for an hour and a half, then read and listen for an hour, just to get my mind going. Throughout the day I would listen to and read other materials during breaks at work, or on my way to work and back home. It was going to be hard, but I didn't care. I had to do this, and I had to do it fast. This moment in my life started to shape my identity and discipline. I knew that even if I didn't become fluent in English, I would still become a different person after all I was going through. After a few days I realized how hard it was to wake up that early every single day. Some days, I didn't want to do it, but I kept going no matter what. There was even one day when I fell asleep at my computer, but I didn't care. I just kept pushing forward. There were times when my motivation was through the roof. No matter what happened, I was going to keep going. Of course, some days I would accomplish everything, and other days, I wouldn't do anything. But I was always there, trying my best. During this period, due to my obsession with traveling the world, and moving away from my hometown, I decided to apply to universities in the US. It was the perfect decision for me, but as many people know, it's not an easy process. I asked myself, how am I supposed to do this while working full-time, studying English, and waking up really early? And if I wanted to apply to universities, that meant I had to practice my English even more. It might sound crazy to some, but the amount of discipline and determination I developed during this time was a surprise even to me. It changed my life forever. I wanted this so badly that my only option was to prepare my application at night. The process of studying English, working full-time, and preparing my application, although hard, only made me stronger. Writing my essays, spending hours searching for colleges that offered scholarships for international students, and studying for tests, only accelerated my progress in English. After months of ups and downs, and moments when I thought about giving up, I realized how much my English had progressed. When practicing speaking, even though I had to pause sometimes and translate in my head, I could still speak. I was making a lot of mistakes, but I was satisfied and motivated to keep going. The crazy part is that my speaking skills completely changed after I met someone, a person I never thought I would meet in my life. I was terrified. Even though I had been speaking English for months, I had never spoken to anyone in English. Just the thought of it scared me. I knew more English than when I started, but I was still shy and introverted, even in my native language. I had doubts, excuses, fears and beliefs holding me back, despite all the time I had already spent practicing. My university applications were improving every day, and my writing and reading skills were getting better too. But I couldn't get past this problem. How was I going to speak to someone? I was too shy even to talk to people online. Then one day, I got a text. My cousin was coming back to Brazil, and she was bringing an American friend with her. I was terrified. I knew I would have to speak English with someone one day, but not like this. For the next few weeks, all I could think about was this, and every time I thought about it, my anxiety grew. The day before the meeting, I was so nervous that I could barely focus on anything. Imagine having to speak English for the first time with someone, knowing that your family had high expectations, because they knew how hard you'd been practicing. You know how it is if you live in a place where 99% of the people don't speak English. Once they find out you can speak, they start asking a lot of questions and get excited. Finally, the day came. My heart was pounding so fast that I thought it would explode. As much as I didn't want to do it, something felt different that day. I told myself I had to do it, no matter what. I had to take action. So there I was. I had no option anymore. I just had to go through with it. With sweaty hands and shaky legs, I kept walking forward. My mind was saying yes, but my body was saying no. The moment I said hey to the person, I knew I had to keep going. Even though I paused a lot and was translating in my head, I made a lot of mistakes, but the person was very respectful. He told me he was surprised by how good my English was, and admired me for trying. During the conversation, I asked simple questions like, "What do you do?" and "How do you like it here?" It wasn't perfect, but he smiled and answered patiently. That gave me the motivation to keep going. My whole life, I had been scared, especially after I started learning English. But in the end, all that fear was for nothing. It was just an illusion created by my mind. That moment completely changed me, especially my mindset. I didn't want to feel that way again, scared all the time. So after that day, everything was different. I started asking myself why I had been so scared. Why I had let my doubts stop me, especially when that conversation in English had gone better than many I'd had in my native language. That's when I realized something important. Making mistakes wasn't as scary as I thought. The key to growth is speaking, even if it's not perfect. If you're scared to speak English, I understand. I felt the same way. But trust me, just starting, even if it's not perfect, is much better than waiting until you feel ready. You'll surprise yourself. That first conversation I had in English taught me that fear is what holds you back, and once you face it, you realize it wasn't as hard as you imagined. After that day, I asked myself every single day why I had these fears and doubts, especially when my first conversation in English went better than I could have expected. What I did next was probably one of the most important steps in becoming a fluent and confident English speaker, something that takes most people a long time to figure out, if they ever do. The months after my first interaction in English were the best so far. The amount of discipline I developed was remarkable, but I still wasn't fully confident speaking English. I was extremely introverted, and I wanted to change that. I started practicing speaking more than ever. Every day, I could feel myself improving. Eventually, I began messaging native speakers. After meeting a few of them, especially the guy the first spoke to in English, the way he treated me day by day boosted my confidence. Even through messages, I felt more comfortable expressing myself in English. But things truly turned around when I received an email. I had already been applying for colleges and scholarships, so my application was ready. The email informed me that I had been selected as a finalist for a full scholarship. To proceed, I needed to go through an interview. I was immediately anxious. How was I supposed to handle an interview in English? At that point, I could write and read fluently, but speaking was a whole different story. This interview was for something as important as studying abroad for free, and that put a lot of pressure on me. I had just 2 weeks to prepare, and I was nervous every single day. I could barely eat. I practiced as much as I could until the big day finally arrived. It was a 30-minute online interview, and I was terrified. You know that feeling when you just want to get out of a situation but you can't? That's exactly how I felt. I just wanted to turn off my laptop, but I knew I couldn't. My future was in my hands. The interview went about as I expected. I made some mistakes and paused before answering some questions, but everyone was patient and respectful. What made me feel bad wasn't the mistakes. It was the overwhelming anxiety I felt despite everything I had been through. I realized that it wasn't normal to feel this level of stress. I spent the rest of the day thinking about why, and eventually, I found my answer. Even though all my interactions in English had gone well, I had felt like running away every single time. That's when I realized it wasn't about trying different techniques or practicing more. What would help me speak English fluently wasn't just more practice. It was changing my mindset. It was about facing my beliefs, fears, excuses, and doubts. Throughout my journey, how many times had I doubted myself? How often had I felt fear, made excuses, or even given up? I had all these limiting beliefs like, I'm not good enough. But imagine if I didn't have those problems. How freely would I speak English? How much easier would my journey have been? I knew the only way to overcome these barriers was to change my beliefs and face every uncomfortable situation, no matter how small. So, I began transforming my mindset. The first few weeks were incredibly tough. I focused on identifying all my fears, doubts, and excuses, and I wrote them down in detail. For every problem, I took massive action to overcome it. If I didn't want to speak with someone, I made sure to speak with them. If I didn't feel like writing or reading, I would force myself to do it. Through this process, I made fewer excuses, practiced more, and faced my fears head-on. I even started talking to people online for the first time. At first I was extremely nervous, but each time I did it, I became less and less anxious. I started to realize that confidence in English wasn't just about language. It was about all aspects of life. So I took action to improve my health, social life, and career. Everything came together, and the progress I had made in English improved as well. However, not everything turned out as I expected. After so many months of this journey, I wanted to share my story, because I believed it was unique, and could help others in similar situations. But I knew that to do this, I would have to put myself out there, and face the possibility of being judged. I had never spoken in front of a camera, especially not in English. My first attempts were horrible, and I told myself I would never post them. I thought about giving up 10-20 times. But by then, I had become used to facing my fears. I wouldn't give up that easily. That's when I recorded my first video in English. I couldn't even look at the camera, but I did it anyway. Then I recorded another, and another. By the time I had recorded my 10th video, people started to resonate with me, and I experienced the best feeling ever. For the first time, I felt truly fluent in English. Even though I knew I would still get nervous in certain situations, I also knew I would face them no matter what. This made me even more confident. Creating this channel was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Helping people and sharing my stories in English skyrocketed my confidence and changed my life forever. And the crazy thing is, it all started with one decision: to learn English. In the end, it was all worth it. The frustration, the sleepless nights, the fears. Even though it was hard in the beginning, it was absolutely worth it. What a journey it has been. Learning English didn't just teach me a language. It taught me the value of hard work, building confidence, facing my fears, and truly believing in myself. And here's my message to you. I'm not perfect, and I'm not better than you. You've seen the struggles I've faced, and sometimes I still go through them, always trying to improve a little more every day. I'm just a person who wants to become fluent in English. If I can do it, there's a 100% chance that you can too. Believe in yourself, not only in learning English but in life. If this video inspired you even a little, don't stop here. Take action today. Start speaking, even if it's not perfect. Face those fears, challenge those doubts, and commit to improving just a little bit every day. And if you found this helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more content like this. Also, drop a comment below. What's one fear that's been holding you back from speaking English? Let's break through those barriers together. Alright, that's it for today. Keep going, keep improving, and I'll see you in the next one.